Hi, this is Michael Piper from the Online Swim Coach. How are you today, everybody? Swimmers and coaches all around the world. It's my pleasure today to talk to you from the Gold Coast. And it's a lovely day on the Gold Coast. I'll just give you a quick look over my shoulder here. You'll see a little bit of the surroundings, some beautiful beaches. Things are looking very, very nice on the Gold Coast. But anyway, you're not wanting to hear about the Gold Coast, you're wanting to hear about swimming. And today I'm going to talk to you about the little things again. I wrote a blog a couple of weeks ago about the little things, and I can't emphasize enough how important those little tiny decisions, those actions that you choose to take when you're competing as an athlete, they can make a big difference on the outcome of the event that you are competing in. So I've written down a few notes here, and this is not going to be a long video. This is going to be relatively to the point, but I want to highlight how important these little behaviors, these little actions, decisions, how big a difference they can make. So, for example, right from the beginning, at the beginning of a race, you know, when you're standing on the blocks, and the starter says take your marks. In the past I've said to swimmers, what is it you're thinking about at that moment when the starter says take your mark? What's going through your mind? And over the years I've had swimmers say winning, my race plan, swimming fast. And I say to them, no. What you're thinking about when the starter says take your mark is one thing and one thing only, and that is the beep. Back in my day it was the gun, but now it's the beep. That is what you focus on. You focus on getting off the blocks as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So right from the beginning, when you are standing on the blocks, your focus needs to be purely on the signal, the beep, that's going to allow you to get off the blocks quickly and get into the race quickly. If you can save yourself a hundredth of a second or a few hundredth of a seconds right there, that is a great start to a race. When you enter the water, once again, these are the things that are reinforced all the time by coaches, but they're all so true. They're so important. You know, how streamlined are you as an athlete? You know, is your streamline the best it can possibly be? You know, are your hands, you know, together as tightly as they can be? Are the elbows squashed closely together? You know, are the shoulders as thin as they can be as the body goes through the water? These are the things that you need to consider. Once again, in that 10 to 15 meters underwater off the start, can you save yourself a hundredth of a second, 1/10 of a second? All of these amounts of time will add up come the end of the race. You know, when you're racing, whether you're racing in a 50-meter event or whether you're racing in a 1500, how many times are you breathing? When are you breathing? Are you breathing too often? Every single time you breathe, and I'm talking about freestyle and butterfly, every single time you breathe, you are interfering with your ability to swim fast. So you need to limit that and make sure that you have a plan on when you're going to be breathing. Oxygen is very important. Don't get me wrong. The last thing you want to do is finish your race oxygen starved and the body seizing up. That being said, over breathing unnecessarily is a time waster. This is one of my favourites, turns. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. When I was a young coach, my mentor gave a description of turning, and his description was, when you have a rubber ball and you have a wall, if you throw the rubber ball against the wall softly, it comes back softly. You throw the rubber ball against the wall hard, it comes back hard. And it's the same with turns. If you accelerate into the wall, if you hit the wall with speed and intensity, you will, or you should, come back off the wall with speed and intensity. That's the goal. That is what you're trying to achieve. So I would summarize that by saying, accelerate into your turns. Most swimmers, when they swim underneath the flags and they're going into that final 5 meters into the wall, most swimmers will start to decelerate and start looking and start wondering about what could go wrong. The best swimmers are the opposite. The best swimmers, they attack the wall, they accelerate into the wall. They want to make sure they're getting in and off the wall as quickly as they possibly can. A very obvious one that people often talk about, middle of the lane. You know, swimming on the lane rope is a time waster. Swimming on the lane rope or moving from side to side in the lane rope, which is obviously more common in backstroke. At the World Championships the Commonwealth Games earlier this year, an outdoor pool, there was a lot of discussion about, backstroke and the fact that the swimmers are on the lane ropes and moving from side to side. It's a time waster. Every single time a shoulder hits that lane rope and there is a delay, every time it's gonna add time onto the race. 1/10 of a second. You're losing momentum, etc. You need to identify strategies. Even in an outdoor pool, you need to identify strategies that are going to allow you to swim down the middle of the pool, because that is the fastest way, especially in a straight line. The fastest way to get from A to B is in a straight line, not from side to side, from one side of the lane to the other. And to finish off, I'm going to finish with finishes. Just like turns, accelerate into the wall. When you are finishing a race, whether it's a 50 freestyle or whether it's a 200 breaststroke or a 1500 freestyle, you need to be desperate to get your hands onto the wall. Be desperate and do anything you possibly can to get to the wall fast. Whether that's limiting your breathing, holding your breath, more power, more aggression. I have a friend, an old friend, an Australian swimmer from the 1980s called Glenn Buchanan. To his friends, we call him Bucko. Bucko was a great swimmer, hard worker, not a big, huge, a strong man, but not a tall man. But he was very, very determined, very fit. At the end of the 100 butterfly in Los Angeles in 1984, 15 meters to go, Glenn Buchanan made the decision. And when I say made the decision, I'm sure that it was a race plan that him and his coach had in place for a long time. But when push came to shove, when the challenge of finishing off a race presented itself to Glenn Buchanan, he didn't breathe for the final 15 meters of the 100 butterfly. And that decision on that particular day in 1984 was the difference between Glenn Buchanan winning a bronze medal at the Olympic Games and not winning a bronze medal at the Olympic Games. At the end of a race, you have to be desperate to get onto the wall. I've spent a little over 5 minutes talking to you about the little things, and I hope that this little presentation will make you think more about what you need to do as an athlete or as a coach when it comes to preparation. Because I can assure you, once again, these little tiny amounts of time or these little decisions make a big difference. So I would encourage you to strive to reduce these areas in time as much as possible. No one is a robot. It's impossible to be perfect, but guess what? You've got to try your very hardest to be as close to perfect as possible. This is Michael Piper from the Online Swim Coach. It has been my pleasure once again from the Gold Coast in Australia to talk to you about the little things that make a big difference in sport, make a big difference in life. And I would encourage you to have a plan when you race, and race with a desire to limit those little areas or enhance those little areas of opportunity when you're racing. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you again. Please come to the YouTube channel as often as possible. Encourage your colleagues or your fellow swimmers or parents to have a look at the channel. I'm actually organising to do a Q&A at some point. That's either going to be on YouTube or via Facebook. At this stage I'm not sure, but we're looking to do that very shortly, and I'd love to see you participate in that. Michael Piper from the Online Swim Coach, www.theonlineswimcoach.com. It would be my pleasure to help you with your swimming needs. Thank you very much. Goodbye.